Sumit finally spoke up in public, not with rage, not with shouting, but with a sentence heavy enough to crack a family open. He chose Jenny out loud, in front of everyone, and the room changed instantly. No applause, no relief, only a silence loaded with consequences. This was not a win. This felt like a loss unfolding in real time. His mother stood up, walked away, and something older than anger broke right there. Years of waiting collapsed into one moment, and nobody walked away untouched. Jenny did not cry. Her face went still, like someone bracing for impact after a long fall. Sumit looked relieved for half a second, then terrified. Standing up sounded brave, but bravery comes with a bill. Does standing up still matter when protection arrives too late? The fight looked loud on camera, yet the real damage waited quietly, ready to show up once everyone went home. On paper, the move back into Sumit's parents' house sounded reasonable. Rent stress, family support, temporary fix. The kind of decision people sell to themselves when money feels tight and patience feels endless. Viewers heard practical words and nodded along, because who has not told themselves this is fine, it will only be for a little while. But nothing about this setup was light. It was not a plan. It was a pressure cooker with a polite label slapped on top. The house did not feel shared. It felt supervised. Every room carried rules nobody explained out loud. Jenny was not welcomed into a home. She was absorbed into a system. The kind where expectations float in the air and somehow you are wrong before you even move. Wake up time, kitchen habits, where you sit, how you speak. None of it written down, all of it enforced. And the wild part is how calm it looked on camera. No screaming matches at first. No slammed doors. Control rarely needs noise when authority already feels settled. And let's be honest, the practical excuse did a lot of work here. Financial stability became the shield. Culture became the cover. Respect for elders became the rulebook, wrapped neatly enough to sound reasonable to outsiders. That is how this stuff hides. Nobody announces domination. It shows up as advice, as correction, as disappointment, smile included, and this is where the story quietly shifts. Even if most people missed it the first time, Jenny tried. You saw it, helping out, staying polite, shrinking herself to fit the room. Not because she wanted praise, but because survival sometimes looks like compliance. The commentary online jumped fast to adaptation talk. Learn the culture, adjust expectations, be patient. Easy words when you are not the one being monitored, like a guest who overstayed. Respect turned into obedience real fast, and nobody paused to question who benefited from that shift. Sumit framed the move as temporary, but temporary stretches when nobody pushes back. He stood in the middle again, smoothing edges, translating emotions, hoping time would soften everyone. Time does not soften power. It settles it. The longer nothing changes, the more normal the imbalance feels. There were small moments early on that felt off if you looked closely. Jenny, hesitating before speaking, laughing late, watching instead of joining. Those were not nerves. Those were instincts. Your body notices danger before your mind names it. She felt the rules before they were enforced. She sensed the trap before the audience caught up, because by the time everyone realized this was not about money, Jenny already knew she was living inside someone else's control. And once you see that, the question stops being how did this blow up, and starts being how long it was breaking before anyone admitted it. The tension did not live in arguments. It lived in routine. Morning after morning, the same patterns played out. Who moved first? Who waited? Who asked? Before touching anything. Nothing dramatic. Nothing loud. That is why it worked. Authority does not need chaos when everyone already knows their place. Jenny learned fast that every action carried weight. Help too much and you are overstepping. Rest too long and you are lazy. Ask questions and you are difficult. Stay quiet and you disappear. This was not chaos. This was order. And order favors whoever writes the rules. People love to rush in with culture as the explanation. And yes, cultural expectations matter. Respect for elders, shared households, roles shaped by tradition. Those realities exist, and ignoring them would be dishonest. But culture explains structure, not treatment. Culture sets roles, not tone. What played out here was not guidance. It was correction, repeated, public, personal. The difference matters. When respect flows one way only, culture stops being the reason and starts being the excuse. Jenny was not fragile in this space. She was alert. You could see it in how she moved. Careful steps, soft voice, polite smiles timed a second too late. Those are not signs of weakness. Those are signs of someone measuring risk. Emotional self-protection often looks like compliance on the outside. Inside, it feels like walking on glass. Every day becomes a performance where the goal is to avoid punishment. You cannot predict, and here is the part that sinks in slowly and sticks. Silence can hurt more than shouting. Meals happened without warmth. Conversations ended when she entered rooms. Instructions came without explanation. Praise rarely followed effort. The message stayed consistent. You are tolerated, not embraced. That kind of message does not break you all at once. It wears you down. You start shrinking without realizing you are doing it. Your world narrows to staying out of trouble. That is not drama. That is erosion. Sumit watched this happen. He did not need a blow-up to notice. He saw the hesitation, the withdrawal, the way Jenny stopped volunteering opinions. He acknowledged it privately, according to what we saw. He tried to manage it quietly, small talks, gentle suggestions, hoping balance would return on its own. That approach feels kind. It also avoids conflict. Avoidance buys peace for the moment and debt for later, because once someone adapts to survive, the system rarely loosens its grip on its own. There is a difference between patience and postponement. Patience has a direction. Postponement has none. The longer the routine stayed intact, the harder it became to challenge. Normal set in. The rules stopped feeling temporary. They started feeling permanent. And here is the detail people overlook. Jenny did not suddenly break. She slowly disappeared. That does not happen without someone noticing. Sumit noticed earlier than he let on. You can see it in his face during those quieter scenes. Concern mixed with hesitation. He knew something was wrong. He just waited too long to decide what mattered more. Sumit sits in the middle of every scene like a man trained to survive by staying agreeable. No villain energy. No grand plan. A pattern built over years. Watch the footage closely and the signs stay consistent. The pause before answering. The half smile during tension. The habit of translating feelings instead of choosing sides. This did not start with Jenny. This started long before cameras arrived. In a household ruled by authority, harmony becomes currency. Keep everyone calm and life stays manageable. That skill keeps peace until peace demands a price. Frustration grows here because understanding does not erase impact. Sumit learned early that resistance invites punishment. Silence invites survival. So silence became strategy. Delay became comfort. The problem with delay is simple. Delay feels neutral while damage keeps moving. Every delay costs something. Look back at smaller moments from the show. Sumit nodding during tense conversations, promising talks later, saying time will help. Those lines sound soothing. Those lines also push the problem forward without touching the core. Jenny stands beside him, waiting for action. Parents stand opposite, waiting for obedience. Sumit stands still, hoping balance appears on its own. Balance never arrives uninvited. Every delay costs something. Viewers often ask why Sumit did not step in sooner. The answer lives in fear, not cruelty. Choosing sides means losing someone. For Sumit, loss never felt theoretical. Family bonds shape identity, social standing, daily life. Breaking those ties carries weight beyond emotion. That fear explains hesitation. Explanation does not equal permission. Harm continues whether fear feels justified or not. Every delay costs something. Pay attention to body language during quieter scenes. Sumit watches Jenny more than he speaks. He notices withdrawal. He hears the silence. Concern shows up in his eyes before words follow. That matters. Awareness existed. Action did not. Awareness without movement turns into guilt later. Guilt rarely fixes damage. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Avoidance protects the avoider first. Everyone else pays interest. Jenny paid through shrinking. Parents paid through hardened control. Sumit paid through growing panic once consequences surfaced. No one escaped untouched. Delay pretends to serve peace while quietly choosing the outcome, and this pattern reaches a breaking point. The moment private discomfort steps into public space. Sumit spent years smoothing conflict behind closed doors. That approach collapsed the second witnesses entered the frame. Cameras, family members, Public settings change stakes. Silence stops working once humiliation gains an audience. The system depends on quiet compliance. Once voices rise, the system cracks. Every delay costs something. Each postponed choice adds weight to the final moment. By the time confrontation arrives, damage already feels baked in. That is why the next scene matters. Not because voices rise, because the delay ends. And endings arrive whether anyone feels ready or not. The picnic was supposed to soften things. Fresh air, neutral ground, fewer walls watching every move. On screen it looked calm at first. Smiles that did not reach the eyes. Small talk stretched thin. Jenny stayed quiet, careful again. Sumit tried to keep things light, the way people do when they sense trouble coming, but hope manners will hold it back. His mother arrived, composed, steady, comfortable. That confidence mattered. Authority does not tense up when it expects obedience. Food preparation turned into the spark. Nothing dramatic. No insults flying. Just instructions delivered with certainty. Jenny moved to help, then hesitated, unsure where things were kept. The correction came fast and sharp, in front of everyone. Not loud, not cruel on paper, but public. And tone does damage faster than words. Weeks of swallowed frustration rose all at once. Sumit changed in that moment. You could see it. Shoulders stiff, face set. The mediator disappeared. He interrupted. Clear, direct. She is my wife, not your servant. The sentence cut clean through years of silence. For a second, everything froze. That line did what years of patience never did. It exposed the structure holding the household together, and this is where the room stopped pretending. Sadna stood up. Her response came fast, fueled by shock and anger. Accusations poured out, disrespect, betrayal, being pushed aside in her own life. She blamed Jenny for changing her son. She blamed Sumit for choosing wrong. This was not a misunderstanding. Clearing up. This was authority being challenged in public. That kind of challenge does not invite discussion. It demands consequence. The volume rose. Relatives shifted. Some looked away. Some leaned in. Jenny stayed still, not crying, not arguing. Her face went blank in a way people recognize only later. Emotional shutdown does not look dramatic. It looks empty. Sumit held his ground, hands shaking even while his voice stayed steady. This was bravery, arriving late and knowing it. Then the moment landed. Sadna said she could not live with them anymore. She said it out loud, in front of witnesses. No room left for reinterpretation later. She turned and walked away from the picnic area. No pause. No looking back. Silence swallowed everything. Nobody chased her. The family sat there, stunned. This was not a private fight behind closed doors. This was a public fracture. Tradition cracked. Hierarchy broke. There was no script for what came next. Jenny stared at the ground. Sumit looked devastated. Speaking up did not bring relief. It brought loss. The shouting ended quickly. The damage did not. The real weight settled in the quiet afterward. When no one knew what to say. When the air felt heavy. When everyone realized this line could not be erased. Authority had been confronted. The cost showed up immediately. Sadna walking away was not a tantrum. It was a declaration. A boundary drawn in concrete. The moment she left, the old order ended. Nothing after this would look the same. The break was clean. And once something breaks this publicly, there is no pretending it was only a misunderstanding. After the picnic, the house felt different. Not loud, not chaotic, just empty. Meals were quiet. Conversations stopped when Jenny entered the room. She moved through the space as if it belonged to someone else, which, in a sense, it did. The energy that used to hum quietly around the family was gone. Authority had shifted, and nobody seemed willing or able to fill the gap. Watching the footage, you can almost hear the pause in the air. Every small gesture now carried meaning. Every glance had weight. Silence became the loudest sound in the house. Jenny did not cry. She did not storm out. She started retreating inward. Small smiles disappeared. Her voice softened. She spoke less and less. On camera, it looked like quiet moments, but anyone paying attention could see her presence shrinking. She was still there, but the spark was fading. Survival sometimes looks like withdrawal. Watching her, you feel the tension in your chest, because she was bracing herself for the next wave she knew was coming. Even if we weren't seeing it yet, Production staff reportedly expressed concern during filming. They noticed Jenny stepping back. They noticed her checking out silently, almost mechanically. Fans watching online quickly picked up on it too. Social media lit up with comments about her subdued energy, her quiet patience, and the way she seemed to carry her weight alone. Nobody overreacted. Nobody dramatized. It was all calm, subtle, but unmistakable. The worry was real. Sumit tried to bridge the distance. Small talks, attempts to lighten the mood, gestures meant to reassure. He saw the change, but his efforts only revealed how fragile the situation had become. Authority had been challenged, balance upset, and now the quiet stretched across the rooms like a shadow. And then you notice it. Jenny's emotional responses were slowing down, not just fading anger or sadness, but a careful detachment. She was stopping herself from reacting. The tension inside her had not vanished, it had folded inward. Watching her move through the house now, you sense the emotional firewall she is building. The preparation for a reality she may not be willing to endure any longer. She was still present, yet already preparing for absence. The next choice she would make felt like it was already forming inside her, quiet, deliberate, and unstoppable. Jenny stopped waiting. She stopped shrinking. Her movements became deliberate, measured, calm. Not dramatic, not loud, just unmistakably intentional. That calm carried weight. Sometimes quiet scares more than yelling. People expect anger to explode. They do not expect someone to stop defending and start planning instead. Jenny was doing exactly that. She began sorting her thoughts, her options, her exit strategy, all while appearing composed. Every glance, every step, every small choice reflected clarity rather than confusion. Sumit noticed it immediately. The panic that had been simmering under his attempts to mediate now boiled to the surface. He could no longer smooth things over with words or gestures. He realized that Jenny's calm was not compromise. It was preparation. And when someone starts preparing quietly, there is no way to negotiate. You cannot reason with inevitability. The shift was subtle but unmistakable. The household dynamic reversed. Jenny did not need to raise her voice. She did not need to escalate conflict. Authority, once absolute, was challenged by presence alone. Rooms that had felt oppressive now became spaces where her silence carried power. Her decisions began shaping the energy in the house. Every ignored instruction, every unvoiced compliance, every quiet step toward independence shifted the balance. Without a single argument, Sumit tried to intervene, tried to persuade, tried to soften the impact. Nothing worked. Jenny had stopped enduring. She was no longer waiting for him or anyone else to rescue her. Survival had a new definition, and it did not include staying in a space that eroded her dignity, and that is where it became clear. Staying had become riskier than leaving. The calm that Jenny carried was not weakness. It was clarity. It was strategy. It was a signal to everyone that her next move was hers to make. Watching her, you feel it immediately. Safety had moved away from the house and toward the unknown. Leaving was no longer a threat. Leaving was protection. The very thought of departure shifted the stakes, and suddenly, the house that once contained control now felt like a cage. By now, the house was quiet in a way that felt heavy. Jenny moved through it without anger, without complaint, but every step carried weight. Watching her, you notice how much energy she used simply to exist under the same roof. Survival was not about confrontation anymore. It was about holding on to herself. Every decision, every pause, every careful word was measured against one question. Could she preserve dignity without losing herself? Sumit remained torn. His loyalty pulled him in two directions at once. Cultural expectations, family bonds, fear of isolation, these forces are real, and they matter. Nobody watching can dismiss them lightly. They shape choices, influence hesitation, and complicate love. And yet, even weighed down by those pressures, he could not undo what had already shifted. The calm in Jenny's preparation highlighted how much time had been spent avoiding the inevitable. This is where reality becomes uncomfortable. Waiting does not erase consequences. It delays them. Every moment of compromise, every attempt to keep the peace, quietly built a debt that had to be paid. Jenny's quiet detachment was the repayment arriving at last. No dramatic words, no angry outburst. Just the finality of knowing that endurance has a cost. And sometimes that cost is everything you hope to protect. It is easy to look for villains here, easy to assign blame. And yes, choices shaped by fear, loyalty, or tradition can create pain. But the story does not live in judgment. It lives in consequence. The lesson feels stark because it is personal. Love alone cannot survive when dignity is stripped away. And recognition of that truth often comes quietly, in moments that pass without anyone noticing until much later. Now, the questions hang heavier than ever. Will legal action become the final step? Can a marriage survive once the balance of authority has been permanently challenged? Jenny is prepared to act. Sumit is scrambling to catch up. Sadna remains resolute. And the audience is left wondering, can love withstand the consequences of waiting too long?